pleased that you guys have all taken our time to join this event. It's been my passion, really, my drive to really share this with the house, because I really want people to know what is out there and the opportunities that are available. Now, I'll try and go as quick as possible. And I can imagine you and your mindset and what you're thinking about in terms of you being here. Okay, fine, I know about shares. Okay, but what does it really mean? Okay, how do I finally get to do it? Into my blog. I'll also go into some platforms as well. I'll show you how to register. I'll also log into one of my personal accounts. I'll also show you the data you can get from those accounts as well. And then we take it from there. Okay, and after that, I have 30 minutes of questions. I also advise and ask that if you could register with my website, if you subscribe, you also can download the app as well. So you can ping me questions on the app. You can chat with me. If you have any questions in the private note, we can discuss, we can talk. So just know that I'm here for you guys, and it's my passion really, and I'm quite pleased for the number and the turnout as well, I think, for me. Reason being that I would like a lot of us to know exactly what's out there. A lot of opportunities are being out there. For instance, the next one. So this is one question that I think we need to ask yourself. If you all can see this, it's an amazing question that you should ask yourself. How many millionaires do you know who have become wealthy by investing in the savings account? Yeah? How many millionaires do you know who have become wealthy by investing in savings account? Zero, if you ask me. Because especially if you're a registered in the UK, your percentages are 0.01. And of course, now the banks are even going into negative interest rate. They are not in it yet. These discussions are ongoing. Negative interest rate means that you would have to pay the bank to hold your money for you. Now, negative interest rate, as you can imagine, has its own consequences as well. So that means that people would rather start withdrawing their cash from the banks and storing them up. And if that happens, then that means the economy will probably go into a meltdown, because there's no spending. People are keeping their money in the bank account. The financial institutions will run dry. So, but we're not there yet, okay? And one driving point for me is with COVID. This brings an opportunity as well for every single one of us. So I would explain as you see. Okay, so we're talking about savings, we're talking about shares, but I like to speak about the rich, okay? So your one is rich, as you would say. Someone has climbed a tree, plucked the good fruit, and is enjoying the fruit. Someone else wants to climb the same tree. The only thing you need to do is ask the people that have climbed the same tree what they did. And if you know what they did, you follow the same steps, you follow the same path, you will probably not fall from climbing that tree. But if you don't understudy the rich, if you don't understudy what they do and how they manage their resources, how they think, because, you know, there's this circle of thoughts, you would call it. First is in the middle is someone's belief system. Yeah, and the next one is someone's thoughts process and the actions. So you can change someone's actions, but they go back to what they do. You can change someone's thinking, they can go back to what they do. But if you change someone's belief, then it automatically changes the way he thinks, also automatically changes the way he acts. So you really need to deal with the belief system of someone. So that's why I really want to focus. So you really want to learn from the rich. What is their belief system? Their belief system. How do they see and how do they view the world? That's the way you really want to think about it. If you can focus on that, then that will guide your way of thinking, the way you spend, the way you keep, the way you invest. Okay, so you really want to focus on the belief system. So I've got a few people I've put out here. Watch their lifestyle, watch their spending, watch the way they look, watch how they live, watch the things that they do. Of course, some you have, you know, a filter. Every individual has a filter, what you can accept and what you can accept. So you always want to watch. But I'll give you an advice. Solomon is one example that I want to pick up. He's one of the richest guys in the world that ever existed. I don't think there's anybody that's been as rich as him. So I'll pick him as an example. So Solomon, richest guy in the world, but he coined his tips, I would call them. He coined his strategies and his observations as proverbs. You know, and these principles are principles that if you do adhere to them, they do guide you. So as a first example, you know, one of them in one of his books in Proverbs 24, he did quote one saying that he says, do your planning and prepare your fields before building your house. Do your planning and prepare. So I've kind of underlined those two. Do your planning, prepare, okay? Before building your house. Okay. Then, second part is, this is the interesting part. Know the state of your flocks and put your heart into caring. Another translation puts it, know your sheep by name. Okay, so that is very key. Think about it. Somebody who has 5,000 sheep, or who has 10,000 sheep, or who has multitude of different livestock, but you tend to know them by name, and you know the state of the flock. Now it says, put your heart into caring. Put your heart into caring for your heads, for riches don't last forever, and the crown might not be passed to the next generation. How many of us know people who are rich, but it doesn't seem to go down to the next generation? But then he says, after the hay is harvested and the new crops appear and the mountains and grasses are gathered in, your sheep will provide wood for clothing, your goats will provide a price for a field, and you will have enough goat milk for yourself, your family, and your servant girls. So it's not just you. This is creating wealth for just not yourself, but your family and your servant girls. But he's saying that you should know the state of your flock. And then the last part is, which was quite interesting. He said he was taking a walk to the house of the lazy man. And he says he noticed that the grasses were overgrown. He noticed that the walls were cracked. And then he came to the conclusion and he said, a little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands. He says, then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber. So this is an advice from the richest of individuals ever known to the world. He says, a little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. So think about it. Really think about it. Solomon, think about Jeff Bezos. Even in times of COVID, I don't think the guy is folding his hands. I don't think the guy is sleeping. I don't think the guy is in any sort of slumber at all. In fact, now is the time he's most awake. Okay, so stocks, shares, what are they really? If you think about stocks as, I just want to buy shares, I want to just buy shares, I want to buy shares, it's sort of a wrong mindset. Like I said, I want to focus on your belief system. What you're trying to do is you're trying to own pieces of businesses. If you think about it that way, when you buy, then you'll be very careful what you're actually buying, because you're buying into the business. You're buying into pieces of business. As you know, shares, simply what they mean, like I said, they're just pieces of businesses. But what they mean is, like, a company would say, maybe, for instance, company X. Company X will go to an investment bank and say they want to get some money to expand and they want to go public. So being public means that the investment bank will split the company into sizable chunks, small chunks, as it were. And these chunks will be of equal cost or price. And then that price, a big, huge amount of that price will go to the to the owners of the companies. The investment banks will own some of these shares as well. And then they bring some of this to the public, okay? And then they start to sell them to the public. So the public would buy these shares back. So, of course, the company having their own majority of these shares, they have the rights to decide and make decisions in terms of votes on management and all of that. And then those who buy little, depending your quantity or depending the amount of shares you buy, then that would, decide on how your rights would be within the company. So this is basically but when you think about it as pieces of businesses, then that makes you invest wisely, because you're thinking, okay, if I want to own a bit of Microsoft, as an example, I want to own a bit of Amazon, I want to own a bit of X, I want to own a bit of that. If you think about it that way, that you're owning these businesses, which means that the businesses could have years when they're doing so well, and they could have years when they're not doing very well. But if you believe in the underlying model and strategy of the business, you are sure that you made the right decision and the business will thrive. Okay, and there's some times when you believe that I think that this business is actually falling, because if you really think about it, who are you looking at? You're looking at the managers, the owners, the people at the top. Who are these people running these businesses? So that's what I want to focus on. Then you see that when you have all this in play, sometimes you can then decide, are these guys really doing their job properly? Should I cut out or should I remain? And if you think that they're not, you can decide to sell the shares. If you think that they really have foresight, their prospects are good, you stay on, even if during the rough times. Okay, and if you believe that the future, it works for you. Okay, so as an example, now we go straight into the business.